Hey there, Wall Street winners. It is Thursday, March 21st, the first day of spring. And if we look at what the futures are doing at 8:41 Eastern, everything is up and in the green. And in particular, the NASDAQ up almost 1%, the S&P 500 up almost 0.5%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average up 0.31%. So everything is looking like it's starting off in the green this morning, all really thanks to federal the Fed Chairman Jerome Powell's announcement yesterday and the Fed's decision to keep interest rates where they are and to keep the 3 interest rate hikes on the table. Not talking about the degree to which they're going, sorry, not rate hikes, rate cuts on the table, and not really talking too much about how large those cuts will be or effectively when they will be, but that they're continuing to evaluate data and they do feel strongly that there will be cuts. That said, I think it's a rosier message than is what is underlying and what the truth ultimately is. Inflation data continues to demonstrate that inflation is stronger than suspected, and it is taking longer to get inflation back down to the Fed's 2% target. And they've now almost split 50-50. I mean, it was obviously a majority for holding the rate cuts to 3 and not reducing them to 2, but it was a margin of 10-9 in that vote. So that was way closer and way higher than I believe any previous vote. And it just raises a huge red flag for me going into the end of March and into April, feeling that even though the economy is doing well, and everything is firing, which typically means that equities will do well, which they're set up to do today. I think that there's going to be a pullback and correction in the next month or two, whether it's in March as we close out March or whether it's in April or May. Obviously, April, we start earnings season again. So we had some great results last night. I totally missed this one on Micron. That primarily makes memory for computers. Really should have bought into Micron, feeling good about the memory market and the tech refresh cycle, but totally missed that. I think it's up 16% pre-market, so that would have been a great purchase, but did miss out on that. But what we're seeing is effectively green on the screen everywhere. So what this means for me on a day and at a time like this is, obviously, you don't want to push back when there's a big tsunami coming in. So a wave is going to raise all boats. So if you have some positions that are underwater, this is good for all of us because typically we all have positions that are underwater. We all make bad trades and hang on to them for a little while. I've got a couple myself. So this is going to lift those ultimately. But it's also an opportunity to take some profits and get out while the tide is high, and then just sit on the sidelines and wait for that wave to go back out, because everything happens in cycles, whether we're talking about the market or the ocean or any other narrative. Everything happens in cycles, and we're in an up cycle right now. So don't be afraid to take some profits and then wait on the sidelines and come back in at a lower price. You can see as we scroll through here, I mean, Microsoft, I think, is going to be hitting all-time highs today, up in the 428, almost 430 range. You've got Palo Alto, which isn't hitting all-time highs by any means, but it's got a little pop this morning. I think Palo Alto could be a buy and could pop a little further. I could see that getting to 290 potentially today or tomorrow. You've got On Semiconductor, a strong stock that's been hit by a slowdown in the EV market primarily, but it's climbed a fair bit in the last couple of days. You have AMD that isn't popping as much as I thought it would be, only about $5, a little under $5. That could or should be up above $200 based on what other semiconductors are doing. You've got Workday, which had a good climb yesterday, it's been in a lull in the 260, the high 260 range and low 270 range for 2 or 3 weeks now. I think this is ready to pop and go a little bit higher, which it started to do yesterday. You've got Amazon, which has been in that 170 range. We'll see where that goes. I listened to Jim Cramer the other day. He feels that he missed the boat on Oracle because they had 2 bad quarters, so he took it out of the trust that he manages for his viewers, but he missed a great earnings beat just recently last week, and regrets not getting into that and feels it's still undervalued. I'm not a big Oracle fan at this point at 129, but that was his perspective. I'm not loving Tesla at this point, although people are saying that because nobody's talking about it, maybe now's a good time to get in and buy that. I think they still have some other issues to work through, and I'm going to wait a quarter to see what the quarterly release numbers look like this coming quarter before making a move there. I am a lover of Meta. Meta is doing very well. And it looks like it's set to climb $6.50 today at open. Not suggesting to get into it at that price, but I mean, it's been down as low as the 480s, and that's been a very attractive purchase and a great opportunity to make some quick gains. We saw that in a previous video a couple of days ago where it popped $16 in a day, went from the 480, low 480s up into the 496 range. You have NVIDIA, which is set to open about $18 above closing price. Again, very risky. This has had some parabolic moves upwards, and those things, again, looking at past trends in history, they're very hard to not see a parabolic downturn at some point. So it's not, in my opinion, a long-term purchase and hold, but you can certainly make some money on the swings. I think there's still some room for movement in Google, but it is on the steeper side of things, especially with the announcement around Google and Apple coming together for partnership on the Gemini AI from Google on the iPhone. So that took a bit of a pop earlier. I think it was this week. And then Adobe is at all-time lows. I think Adobe is extremely attractive right now, and this stock could go up $10 to $20 in a day and get back into the mid 600s where it's likely to end up in a month or so. And then we get down into financials, and it's funny because with interest rates being held the same, you'd think that would, in the long term, be more of a detriment to financials than a benefit, but this is where the market is not necessarily aligned with reality. So we're seeing some things pop. I've been a big fan of SoFi down in the low $7 range. It's going to look like it's going to get close to mid $7, if not maybe $8 today, based on that increase in pre-market. You've got Raymond James, which is at almost 123. This is a stock that should be around 102, in my opinion, but it's up at the 120s. JP Morgan, rock solid company, just announced a dividend increase to shareholders and is at 196, an all-time high. But we've seen the likes of its CEO, Jamie Dimon, selling shares. And there's a variety of reasons why CEOs do that. I'm not saying it's because he doesn't believe in the company, but it is something to just be aware of. MTB at 143. This is a regional bank with what I would imagine is a fairly large exposure to real estate and real estate renewals. And that shoe has not dropped yet. So I would be leery there. We are seeing IPOs pick up. So today we've got RDDT hitting the market, which is Reddit. Reddit's a company that's still not making money, and it's valued at $6 billion. So this one blows my mind a little bit because I don't see a path to profitability. And that's what I'm going to look for. So I might play Reddit today because of the IPO and the excitement, but I'm definitely not going to buy and hold. I'm going to get out when there's some profit to be had and be very happy if I can make a profit on that. And then there's Goldman. So Goldman hasn't hit 400 in, I don't know, I think it's almost 2 years. It's getting very close. And if the IPO market does pick up, which is looking like it's going to this year, it's likely that Morgan Stanley and Goldman are going to do well. But where they're going to do well is, or where they're going to do poorly and where there's risk on the table is if these rate decisions in the coming months get reduced from 3 to 2, we're going to see I think a huge drop or pullback, a correction in the financial sector. So I'm very leery of the financial sector. And I think it's somewhat value priced right now, but at the same time, maybe a little overpriced. I would be much happier with Morgan Stanley in the low 80s for a pop than I am in the low 90s, thinking it's going to go to 115 or something like that. So I'm staying away from those at the moment. And that's where we are today. So I wish you all the best in your trades today. Keep an eye on RDDT, see what it's doing, and see if you can ride that wave. There looks like there's going to be a wave on NVIDIA today and on ARM for you to ride as well, if that's something you want to get into. But all the best, and keep your eye on the downside and make sure you get out of those positions if they start to look like they're going to take a downward turn and there's an opportunity to lose.